Mr Chairman, I want to challenge both Ruth Dyson and Marianne Street in the sense that they've decided to get quite personal in this debate. Let's just talk direct. During the period that Ruth Dyson and Marianne Street were ministers for ACC, the unfunded liabilities grew by $13 billion. $13 billion. So it's all very well to wear your heart on your sleeve, but the truth is you cannot provide ACC security for ordinary New Zealanders if you're driving the screen broke. And that's exactly what those two ministers did, which is a matter of public record.
Point of order. Point of order. The Honourable Steve Chadwick.
Comments have no bearing at all on part one of this bill.
Speaking to the point of order.
No. Look, I know this is a robust debate. There's some words flying around, and I'd say we can't call someone chicken. I heard that from somewhere. So we're not going to have that sort of language. This is a debate that is robust. If the Minister wants to refer back to some points that have been made, that's fine. But the Minister cannot concentrate his 5-minute speech on those rebuttal points, and I'll ask him to come back to part one.
Order.
Honourable Ruth Dyson.
I used the word you referred to and I withdraw and apologise. It was inappropriate.
Thank you. I'll ask Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
Mr Chairman, the issue is this. The member, Ruth Dyson, has just got to her feet and has said... Point of order, Mr Chairman.
Point of order, the Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
Mr Chairman, you have insisted that during the course of contributions from members that I'll interject. Every time I've attempted to answer, and they challenge me to get to my feet and to answer the points, I get shouted down by members who have moved their seat.
I will determine the level of interjections and whether they're acceptable or not. I'll call the Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
Mr Chairman, the members have argued that it's inhumane for the work test in this bill to be 30 hours. That it's not reasonable for ACC to say to somebody, you can work for 30 hours a week, so that is a reasonable requirement. The simple question I've got for members of the Labour Party is why is it okay for someone on a sickness benefit or an invalid's benefit for 30 hours to be the test, but not for ACC? Because during the entire period that Labour was the government, 30 hours was the test that's used by the Department of Statistics, 30 hours is the test that is used by the Department of Inland Revenue, 30 hours is the test that is used by Work and Income New Zealand. Why would you have a different definition when it comes to ACC? The last point I want to cover is very sensitive, and that is with respect to suicide. And you've had these arguments, and I think it's going way beyond the margins of blaming people for causing suicide. It is an awful tragedy. There are far too many suicides in New Zealand. But I have to say, well, Ruth Dyson, I simply challenge Ruth Dyson, if her and members opposite really believe that ACC should cover suicide, Mr Woodhouse, the architect, Owen Woodhouse did not include suicide. So I simply ask Ruth Dyson, is she with all the passion giving an absolute commitment that a future Labour government will put suicide back into the scheme? Are you going to put it back in? Simple challenge. You see, I've been in this house a wee while, and I've heard all sorts of passionate debates. The real test for Labour members as to whether they really believe that, will they give an unequivocal commitment that they'll put it back? See, it's silent, isn't it? Isn't it interesting? It shows it all is puff. I think they know. In fact, I'm sure Mr Parker, the spokesperson, knows in his heart of hearts that it was a mistake for Labour, without the funding, to extend ACC. Well, the member Ruth Dyson says it was a mistake. Well, just like it was a mistake when she extended free physio into the scheme. Well, Mr Parker says that was a mistake. I'm looking forward to seeing Ruth Dyson stand up in this House and apologise for introducing free physiotherapy. Does Labour Party now accept that was a mistake?
Point of order. The Honourable Steve Chadwick.
This is the Minister's 8th call in this Part 1 debate. He hasn't referred to Part 1 yet. He's made personal allegations and they're going far of the mark.
Thank you. I hear what the member says. I'll determine whether we've gone outside the scope, but I do ask all members to concentrate on Part 1. Part 1, if we looked at it, has a number of clauses that I've yet to hear any debate on. There's a lot of material here that can be debated, and I'll ask the debate to be concentrated on Part 1. The Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
Mr Speaker, a key part of Part 1 of this bill is a decision that suicide and self-harm is a tragedy, but it is not an accident. It's a very simple point, and it's a point on which there is a difference in the House. And my simple challenge to members, and my simple challenge to the Labour member, well, no, I say to the member Steve Chadwick, when you extended the ACC scheme and included suicide and self-harm, where was the funding? I searched under the desk. I searched in every corner. In fact, what you actually did, in the first year I became Minister, ACC made a loss of $4.8 billion. Now, for members of the Labour Party, they're sort of in denial. They're in denial that there's any sort of an issue. The simple fact is this: if expenses rise, if you extend the scheme and you don't fund it, you end up in financial difficulty, change is required. That's what Part 1 of this bill is about.